Okay, so Avengers Endgame. So this is the. Well, technically, this isn't the end of Phase 3. I believe this is the end of Phase 3 is after Spider Man Far From Home. But this would pretty much be the ending of the so called Generation 1 of the MCU. So I would say go out and see the movie, but by now I think just about everyone in the world has probably already seen it. So this will be chock full of spoilers, but it's been out for over a week now. So anybody who's wanted to be spoiled has been spoiled. Anyone who's been avoiding spoilers has been avoiding human contact. So we'll get right into it. My favorite scene of the entire film. It's probably a bizarre one. It was a nice callback to the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, in the Infinity Gauntlet storyline proper, the comic version, after Thanos defeats pretty much everyone. By everyone, I mean after he does the snap, that's when half the universe goes after him. And it's everything ranging from Celestials on down. And the last person to face him is Captain America. So Thanos, with the gems, he's beaten everybody. And he goes one with Captain America. Captain America, punches him in the face. And of course he's like, wait, what? He's like, as long as there's one person who opposes you, you'll never win. It's a soliloquy like that. He then goes one-on-one with Thanos. Now he's watched Thanos wipe the floor with, gods. And Thanos is having a hard time hitting him. But Thanos does punch and he shatters the shield, and then he makes, the ground produce hands so he can hold on to it, so then he could kill Captain America. So you had a moment like this, where it's Captain America fighting Thanos and his shield gets broken in the process. And I liked that. A lot of really fantastic character moments in this, which is easy to do because you've spent the better part of 12 years developing these characters. The scenes with Hawkeye, very, very well done. Jeremy Renner did a fantastic job with. He's not in there a lot because the film begins with his portion of he's with his family. The snap happens and his family's gone. The Avengers do make the jump to find Thanos and to try to defeat him. By the time they get there, Thanos has practically retired. I mean, he's got his armor's up like a scarecrow. He is a farmer, which in all the other Marvel stories that Jim Starlin writes in, Thanos wins. That's Thanos. He wins. And then he goes to doing a much more regular lifestyle. So he has actually in the past, he's become a gardener. He's taken off the weapons of war and he's been a gardener. So this now has the Avengers show up. Or what's left of them. Joined by Captain Marvel as well. And he shows that the gauntlet's ruined. He used the stones to destroy the gauntlet, which you can't do. And they even describe it in the movie that you really can't do that. And in the comics, they've tried it multiple times, it doesn't work. Now, initially, I thought at the end of Endgame that it showed the gauntlet being damaged. So I almost thought maybe the gauntlet couldn't have been used more than once. So the Avengers show up, and he's like, there's nothing you can do. He's like, I destroyed the gauntlet, so you can't do anything. Thor then cuts off Thanos' arm, and then while Thanos is there, with one arm, his body's badly burned from using the gauntlet again, and Thor decapitates him. We now jump forward 5 years. Tony is a kid. The world is still semi-functional, which I thought was weird. If half the people in the world disappeared, I mean, there's still electricity. I mean, they probably had several years to go through the process of building things back up. Cap is still out there trying to help people as best he can. Same with Black Widow. Thor has found a new place called New Asgard. Thor is now rocking. I hate when people say he's rocking a dad bod. No. That is not a dad bod. Not a dad bod at all. I mean, he's still got big guns on him, but now he's accentuated that with wearing like the pregnancy suit that they make men wear to show compassion to their wives when they're pregnant. They do refer to him as the Big Lebowski, because you can tell that's the character interpretation, as he's walking around with sunglasses, beard and long hair, drinking beer everywhere. Hank Pym all of a sudden just pops out and he's like, whoa, what happened? It's like, it's been 5 years. No, I was gone for like a few hours. I was like, wait a minute, time moves differently. Which then leads them to believe, well, you know what we can do? Time travel. What if we go back in time? Stop from happening. They go tell Tony. Tony's like, no, that's crazy. How am I going to time travel? So, of course, the Bruce Banner, who's now Professor Hulk. Nice seeing Professor Hulk. Must have made it a lot easier on Mark Ruffalo. He didn't actually need to really be in the film. He just had to do motion capture work. So Professor Hulk was definitely a relief to see. I'm like, oh, that's good. Now it's like, oh, Hulk smash. So they try to do a time machine. It has partially hilarious results. I will say I'm glad they toned down the comedy a lot. So if it's 5 years after half of all living things have been destroyed, you should be kind of somber. Hawkeye is now Ronin because he's lost his family, so he's going on a killing spree, which was fun. My wife goes, "Hey, is that the Green Arrow?" Because all of a sudden he's looking like he is the Green Arrow, just with a different mask on. So Tony, being Tony, finds a way to create a time machine, and now here we are. It's time to figure out how to traverse through time. But they have Pym particles. Now they find out what they have to do to get the stones back. They split up into teams, and they all have to go to 3 different times to try to get the stones. So, Thor and Rocket head off to Asgard, trying to get the ether, which led to a really good moment with Thor's character and his mom, which was great to see. And then you have another group that's going off and like, okay, well we're off to get Soul Stone, because we know where it is, and Power Stone. So that's Nebula, War Machine, Hawkeye, Black Widow. Rest of them go, okay, well, wait. This is time when like all 3 stones are in the same area. Yeah. They're all in New York at the same time. Remember during the battle of the first Avengers? So of course now the other group goes there. So they get to show bits and pieces of the actual Avengers movie going on around them as they attempt to do a relatively convoluted way to try to get the Scepter, the Tesseract, and the Eye of Agamotto all at one time. It was neat seeing that during the Battle of New York, the Ancient One was there with her Infinity Stone and pretty much, helping to defend the Sanctum. I like that. So, Banner's able to get that stone back, but more still, we see the stones away. It's going to fracture reality. Okay, we got to bring the stones back to where we took them. Makes sense. Things go awry, getting the Tesseract, which then makes them go farther back. So now all of a sudden you've got Steve and Tony go back. Again, good character moments, seeing Tony Stark spend time with his dad, seeing Steve Rogers looking at Agent Carter, kind of going, man, I miss that woman. And of course they still have more Pym particles because, hey, you know what? If this is the thing you need to make round trips, why not? To get the Soul Stone, different. Yeah, they don't know about the sacrifice one. So Black Widow and Hawkeye, and Black Widow's like, I'm gonna do it. Hawkeye's like, no, I'm gonna do it. She's like, no, I'm gonna do it. No, I'm going to kill myself so you can live. No, I'm killing myself so you can live, you can see your family. No. So they get into a minor scuffle. I won't ruin who sacrifices themselves for the stone. So of course, they get all the gems back. They're able to undo it. Which, only one of them can do it and gets severely injured in the process. But since Nebula went back with them, who's now a good guy, Nebula and Nebula begin to connect at the same time. So Thanos knows what's going on. So now, the 2019 superheroes get a visit from 2014 Thanos. And this is where Thanos has the giant double sword. He starts attacking the Avengers. Avengers do a pretty decent job with whoever's left, actually, trying to hold off against him. Thanos then summons his armies. But the Avengers have already unsnapped and brought everybody back. They brought everybody back into their future. So it means everyone who's alive, who survived the snap and who's alive now, there's a 5-year gap for what's going on. So as Thanos' massive army shows up, Cap's comm goes off. Sam? Yeah. Don't worry. We're coming up. Okay. And then you just see the Doctor Strange portal everywhere. And then everyone comes through. And it makes sense because he's wiped out half of the universe. The universe is going to show up. This ending battle sequence was done very, very well. There is some things that they did that I kind of went, that felt like here's the propaganda piece we have to do. So we do get to see Thor. So this is disheveled Thor, the big Thorboski, tried to defeat Thanos while wielding both Mjolnir, which he took from the past, and Stormbreaker. And he is not able to defeat Thanos. He's close, but he's not really able to hurt him, even using Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. And he's almost like a more of a full power, and he can't really harm Thanos that much. Thanos is going to drive Stormbreaker into Thor's chest. Mjolnir flies into Captain America's hand, so now Captain America, wielding Mjolnir, starts doing some of the battle. I'm jumping back and forth between the end battle, because the last 45 minutes is just massive battle. It's everything that the opening sequence for Justice League should have been, where it showed, the Amazons, the Atlanteans, the humans, the gods, and the Green Lanterns battling against, the forces of Apocalypse. And I was like, okay, good. So we're showing, two people wielding godlike powers are actually able to kind of harm Thanos. Now Thanos is on the full losing end of things. He's like, okay, you know what? Now, of course, he loses by an unexpected individual. I don't want to ruin that part, because it was actually good to see people actually portrayed to closer to their higher level. He decides to do a scorched earth thing, which pretty much he's going to just laser everything. So he destroys the majority of his own army, not knowing that there's now armies upon armies upon armies of wizards who are now putting shields in the air. And all of a sudden they stop, because now Captain America has to Deus Ex Machina her way back in, destroys the massive spaceship, and then you have Thanos with the gauntlet. Who's trying to, snap again. It's not working out very well, because Captain Marvel is able to prevent Thanos, who's wielding the Infinity Gauntlet, from snapping his fingers until he grabs the Power Stone and then nails her. So non-gauntlet Thanos was a pretty solid match for an out-of-shape Thor wielding Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, but Infinity Gauntlet wielding Thanos was having an issue dealing with Captain Marvel. So, and then it's going down to Tony. Tony takes the stones out of the gauntlet, attaches them to himself. Now, the use of this gauntlet severely injures the individual. Tony's able to use the gauntlet, or should he's able to use his tertiary version of the gauntlet, destroys all of Thanos' army. In the process, killing himself. That's why I say this is the end of the first generation, because you can tell he just, good moment where they had Pepper Potts with him, and you had to see his, and Peter Parker was there, who was the person. That's the reason why he decided to do the time jump, which, I dug. It gives them that like father-son relationship that you can tell that he was kind of lacking, which when he went back in time to see his dad was pretty good. And then they elect Steve Rogers to go back and pull the stones back in place. He doesn't come back. And then they see an old man sitting on a bench. Steve Rogers. Why? Well, since he's going back in time, he probably decided to stop off and go, you know what? I'll be with Agent Carter. That's what I'm going to do. With Agent Carter. So when they see him in their future, which now means that he left his time to go back in time to then make his way back to where they were to, I'm done. He has a wedding ring. My wife goes, I thought he didn't age. It's like, well, he came back in the early 2000s, so it means he's probably been here on Earth, our timeline, maybe about 10 years, which means he's probably late 20s, early 30s. So if it goes back to about that time, it's now he said he was frozen for 70 years. It's been about a decade. He's probably 100 to 110 years old. He's lived a good life. Gives the shield over to Sam. Sam's taken over, which is good. He's been kept around the comics. Thor decides to give Valkyrie effectively the leadership of New Asgard, as Thor then joins the Guardian, become the Asgardians of the galaxy. So if we don't see Thor and Valkyrie again in the Marvel Universe, we'll see them in Mission Impossible International. So, to cap off what's been 12, 13 years of movies, really good job. Yeah, I will say I liked the fact that what did it all and what made it all possible was the Ant-Man. And what gave away the ending of Endgame is if you saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, I saw it and I went, oh, time moves differently. I went, oh, time travel, well, there you go. Then it's pretty easy to do some stuff. It's like they figured out time travel right there. There's time travel. You can just find a way to control it. Which took me a couple of days. So, I like that this is now the third superhero film to deal with time travel. You have Days of Future Past, as well as Deadpool, kind of. I like the way they did it. I almost kind of wish that when they would have done the reset, they probably didn't have the time to do any of this. But imagine if the final battle, when they brought everybody, if they would have had Hugh Jackman show up as Wolverine. I mean, they own all the characters now. They didn't have time probably to do all of this, but I could see eventually they might do a version where they've got all of the other characters that they own, which would make it pretty amazing. Or they could do here's what the X-Men were doing while the Avengers 1 was happening. And I was like, really good film. Easily the best superhero film that's come out, which is easy to do because it has all of them. This film definitely has made its money. It's earned its money. Robert Downey Jr. did a fantastic job. People said he should try to get an Oscar for it. And, he killed it in this role. literally and figuratively. And he's a really good actor. I thought they had some really good moments. I only have one nagging issue. And that would be... Where's Vision? Everyone else came back. Well, not everyone. A few people can't come back. If you make the jump for the Soul Stone, you can't come back. Which makes sense. You've made the permanent sacrifice to retrieve the Soul Stone. Granted. Ooh. Okay, now I'm thinking if they do like some deleted scenes for like the extra like Shield Declassified Edition, I would love to see if they did a scene where Steve Rogers, who's returning the Infinity Stones back to their time, what it's like when he meets the Soul Stone Guardian, who is the Red Skull. And then he has to give the stone back to the Red Skull. That would probably be a unique scene to see.